Thanks for being here, Dale. Very nice.
Dale. Good to see you. You haven't had Dale in person. This is the first time you've been here in
I
person.
think this is the first time.
No, it's not.
No?
Yeah.
What did we do?
Once a year.
I thought we did, it was all online.
I
Oh,
thought, no, we did budget online, I think,
Yeah.
last year.
Oh, maybe.
We did the presentation online.
yeah.
Yeah, because
I don't think you've ever been here.
not for,
Not
you
not
have
for
been
the-
here,
not
but
for
not,
council.
but
No,
not for one
last
of
year
our-
we did it here, I
No, we
think.
didn't.
We were on go-to last year?
Yeah,
That late?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm out.
You should have a bigger contract.
We were
if
go
you
to
work
that.
on it.
I think so.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Anybody online?
So bad. It's not so-
That's not up yet.
At the Valley, I just opened it today.
Go-to problems. Hint, hint, hint. Hint, hint, hint. Go-to
I think
problems.
it's not the go-to problem, it's we logged on, typically.
More to the right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's,
okay.
You should, as a computer guy, you should know, most of this stuff is all user error.
It
It's
is.
not a-
No, that's what, of course, as
That's what,
working,
that's
working
what all
in,
the IT people say.
working in the industry, absolutely
Is it plugged
true.
in?
It's just gonna be.
Is it turned on?
Here's that. It's-
Yeah.
Absolutely true. Blame it on the users.
Sergeant Scanlon
His
is on.
values.
Okay.
What initials did
So
you
in
use
terms
today?
of the
SS?
official platform, it would have to be business as far as the individuals.
I have to talk about
I think even the two guys, Doug,
Right.
Paul Drake, are different. One's a lawyer, one's a planner.
But it's one of those, it's like, all right, it's like, might get something I've been married.
And I'm not gonna go low,
But I
it's
got
just not my nature.
Yeah.
I don't think I think they seem like decent people.
He'll take it, they'll circle them all.
I've got an email to Steve, Peter, so we got our ballot, my wife's ballot, there was nothing on it.
Oh, no.
That was a very nice note. I said, look, you know, the clerks are stuffing thousands of these. I understand how this could happen. You know, I appreciate everything you guys do. I got a very nice note. So, kind
Yeah,
of
he
setting.
seems like a really nice one.
He doesn't again.
A few times. I think he, process-wise, he's really turned things around down there. I feel like,
I didn't follow it close enough to know what's changed. He's very decent.
yeah, that's good. Good.
We are recording, go-to meeting is just, I can do that while
So we're good to go?
we are good to go right now.
Okay.
There are YouTube and go-to and the recording stuff, so.
Okay, very good. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the mayor, the meeting of the Borough Council of the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone, April 25th, 2023. It is now 7:08 p.m. And since Nancy's working, I shall read the sunshine bonus. Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of the 2023 meeting dates was published in the Courier News and Burnersville News on December 8, 2022, and posted at the municipal complex in the Borough Library. Action may be taken. Would everybody please stand and join me in a Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Nancy, when you can, a roll call, please.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Here.
Councilman Lemon.
Here.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Here.
Councilman Portello.
Here.
Council President Sweeney.
Here.
Councilwoman Weigel. Here. Mayor Coriano.
Here. Okay, very good. Moving on to public comments on non-agenda items. We'll start with our audience member. Do you have any public comment this evening? Okay, and moving on to
Don't
those.
ask for a raise. Everybody seems to be asking for raises.
I see we have 3 people online. And do we have any public comments on non-agenda items from anybody who's online? Oh yeah, 2's in there.
Nancy.
Two are Nancy. Nancy, you have any comments?
Forget it. All right, let's move on. Old business, we have nothing on the agenda. Does anybody have any other items for old
A
business?
very quick comment, based on Eric's, concern about the flagpole. Brad, the head of DPW today, told me that they weren't able to find a light strong enough at the base, so what they ended up doing is purchasing a solar light that they clamped kind of halfway up the pole.
Yeah.
And, so it just got put on today, so I'm not sure how effective it's a solar light, so, we'll have to just do a drive-by and
I'll
see what it
drive by
looks like.
tonight, take a look,
Yeah,
you know, or-
and see what it looks.
thank you.
So anyway, yeah, that was done today.
Good work.
Great.
We're all gonna drive by the DPW.
Right, I know, we'll just hang out, just park there.
Any other old business? Moving on to new, we have nothing specific on the agenda. Does anybody have a new business item they wish to bring up? Seeing none, let's move on to miscellaneous discussions and approval. I'm gonna move it around a little bit. Let's do the go-to-meetings discussion first, and then the road signage presentation in the second. So, go-to-meeting. So, as a recap, this is the agenda item that keeps getting postponed because we all are not here, but now we're all here. And the subject is to discuss whether we're going to continue having go-to-meeting as part of our meetings or just do the YouTube simulcast. So why don't we go around the table? I'll start from this end and you give opinions and let's come to a consensus.
I'm in favor of keeping go-to-meeting. I think it's an important component for those who, for whatever reason, may not be able to attend in person. I do understand, Mayor, your point about if someone wants to address the council, they should come in person, but not all circumstances can warrant that. And so, you know, for those reasons, I think given we already have it, given it's being used, given COVID, I'd like to see that we maintain the access to those who can't come in person.
Okay, very good. Don Lana.
So little different opinion. We have a lot of technical problems with go-to-meetings, with communication, than the people not hearing us, which can cause some problems with having to redo meetings. They can watch the meetings on YouTube, which I think we should continue to broadcast. But I really believe that if somebody wants to address the council, they should be in attendance. And for the 1 in 1,000 chance where it doesn't, I think we could make a sensible exception. We'll have them contact the clerk saying I'm in bed with a communicable disease. I want to address the council, and I'm sure as an exception we can allow it. So I would say yes on YouTube, no to go to meeting continued use.
Okay.
So I agree with Eric. I think go-to-meeting is needed for the two-way communication. If someone is on YouTube and they can't communicate with us, I think that's a huge barrier. Being here in person is, of course, ideal for us, but not necessarily for someone who can't be here in person. So I think we need to address our technical issues with GoToMeeting. People use it all the time for work and purposes bigger than what we do here, I think. So there's got to be a way to fix it. I would like to see us pursue that. So keeping both platforms.
Okay, thank you. I'll go next. I believe in more of a hybrid solution similar to what Don suggested. I don't think we should have go-to-meeting at every single meeting unless requested. And there's very good reasons to have it for certain sessions. For example, Nancy was away at her last meeting and she phoned in, but she could have go-to-meeting in. One of us might be away and would want to participate. Go-to-meeting is appropriate for that. So I would want to reserve it on an as-needed basis, but I do believe the default should be in person. And GoToMeeting has given us a lot of technical problems, and we just saw it 5 minutes ago. And the reason for that mostly is because it wasn't designed for this. It was designed for somebody sitting at a PC, sitting in front of a camera, talking to a bunch of other people, sitting in front of a PC at a camera. And we're trying to make it do something that really wasn't designed well to do, although we've, for reasons of economy and we wanted to get it working, we made it work. And because we were using it for virtual meetings only, which worked perfectly once we got that down. So I am more in favor of stopping having GoToMeeting by default and doing it by request only. John.
I'm up. Okay. I hear both sides, and I think anyone who's ever watched the State of the Union address has probably sat there yelling at the television. And to me, that's the frustration that YouTube has for residents that are watching online. And I sure as hell don't want somebody getting in the car and driving 70 miles an hour to get here so they can make a comment before we adjourn the meeting. So that's my long-winded way of saying I prefer that we do have the interactive meetings. I'm not saying go to though. To me, the transparency is worth paying a little extra if Zoom is more appropriate, or if there's a program out there that is conducive to this. But I'd like to keep it And I wouldn't wanna put it in a situation where people have to special request it. I mean, we would know enough to special request it, but I'm not sure about residents. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Can I just chime in on John's point there? So if the option is to look at a different platform, I highly encourage that. I do not think GoToMeeting is the right platform. We have a Microsoft subscription within the borough. Teams is a part of that. We use Teams collectively, in a lot of other professional settings. There would be no additional cost to us to use that. I would like to explore that, or, maybe a Zoom license isn't all that expensive. I don't know. But yeah, I don't think GoToMeeting is the best platform. I don't wanna get rid of the interactive platform, but maybe we look at another solution.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I think it's a nice option for our residents. And the reality is you want, if a resident has the plan to come and discuss something, you want them to show up in person. But kind of to John's point, if you are just listening in, trying to stay informed of what's going on in town, and something comes up in that meeting, you want to speak up, this gives you that option. And the idea that we would make it available as needed, it just seems almost more burdensome to do it that way than to have it available for each meeting. So, I mean, I do leave it up to Nancy on how much work it is, but I think it's beneficial to the town, and I would love to investigate other options that might be more conducive to this type of atmosphere.
Yeah, there's been, ever since I've been on council, it seems like every meeting is delayed or there's some little technical difficulty with GoTo. And to your point, Mark, it's not really invented for this forum. I do feel like people come in and when they want to speak, there hasn't been many uses of the public since I've been involved on GoTo. It's mostly been like when, someone's, so I think it's, I like that new idea, having another platform that's more efficient, that doesn't cause delays, and if it's efficient and we can just have it running, and it's like, I think Zoom is like $75 a month or something like that, maybe that would be worth it. For like, you have to pay if you're going over 45 minutes, so there's, that's the thing. I think, I'm not saying prices, but it might be worth that investment. Or I say, the Zooms, the GoTo's just been distracting. And it's just caused a lot of delays. We all have, our time is precious. So that's my 2 cents.
Can I
Nancy,
give
do you
my
have an
opinion?
Yes, of course. I would love to hear your opinion.
Can I give
'cause
my
honestly, yours is one of the
I
more
understand
important.
your opinion
Yeah.
too.
I do not have a problem with running all of this. The problem with having it on a as requested basis is that it is not advertised. We would have to know, nobody can call in at the last minute and call in this afternoon and say, I can't make it, I gotta be on GoTo tonight, because it would not be an advertised
That's a good point.
meeting. So it would have to, right now, for the rest of this year, I couldn't shut it down. We could, cause I can
You'd have to
advertise that it's not,
re-advertise.
I can advertise that we're not gonna have it. But when I did my advertisements for all the meetings this year, it was said that GoTo would be up there. And we give it
So
out.
even if we change platforms, you have to renotice.
I have to renotice, but to have somebody at the last minute come in and say, I don't wanna be on there, I can't make tonight's meeting, we can't do that then, because if I advertise that we're no longer doing GoToMeeting as part of it.
So it's all or none, is what you're
So
saying.
it's all or none right now
Yeah.
at this point.
But even next year, if you didn't advertise GoTo and you were just advertising the in-person meetings, the same problem arises
Right.
to do it on a case-by-case
My,
basis.
my suggestion, and I have looked into it, is to have either Susie or Matthew from my office be here to work this end of the computer. I can rearrange their schedule on the days that they need to be here later so that we're not incurring a lot of overtime or anything. And we would set it up down here, and they would handle the recording, making sure the recording was on, GoToMeeting was on, or whichever platform we go to. Actually, our recording system, they do have a platform that works with them that would be that, which is a cost, which we can look into that, so it would be all part of our recording system.
And Nancy, so I don't know how the recording system works. 9 out of 10 Teams calls that I'm on internally, they're recorded. I have to consent that I'm being recorded. Is that not the same feature?
No,
Okay.
it's not the same feature. We have a separate recording system that works with our microphones and our PA system here.
Okay.
We also have, it also works with our YouTube with the camera that's in the middle of the room here, that's how we see it. And they set up go-to so that the camera in the middle of the room will work here. So I think part of the problem with it being a delay to get it up and running and stuff is that when we get started and we're starting going, we're either Susie or I am here trying to get the meeting started, trying to get this working. I think there's a lot. I think if we separate it by having somebody else here dealing with this and then me dealing with the meeting itself, I think we're looking at a less cumbersome, less problems.
When you communicate with other clerks, I'm sure you've had conversations about this. Is there consensus on platforms that are used by other towns that you know?
Most people are using the Zoom, or they're using the platform through our BIS through our recording system. There are also, some have completely gone to not even doing YouTube or GoToMeeting or anything. They've gone completely back into just in-person meetings. Some are doing everything that we're doing.
Yeah,
no.
I just don't think. I mean, somebody has to have figured out this riddle.
Right, and I do have, some of them do have, and that's where I came across and my idea of having somebody else here, because I've talked to other clerks, and both their deputy clerk and them are there at the meetings. They have one working the video and doing the recordings and everything, and the other one taking care of the meeting. So that's just something else that we can look
Just
into
another question,
doing.
John, land use board is still fully virtual, right?
No, we
They
just went remote this month.
Okay.
First meeting in 3 years.
And they're they are just recording, they're not doing YouTube.
And that's what I was gonna ask, they don't have that other
No.
step, okay.
Just having
But
an
you know what,
additional person here, it
Land
could,
use board's different because when people get up to speak, if they ask a question, it's one thing, but if they make a comment, they gotta be sworn in. And that would be pretty, I think, cumbersome when you're doing it online.
Yeah.
Nancy, does it cost more money to have 2 people here rather than just you and not have a go-to component to this?
No. Well, yes and no. I can't, if I rearrange their schedules so they come in later in the day and they're working their 7 hours, depending on how long the meeting is, we can do it, you might have 1 or 2 hours overtime based on that. We can give that to them also not as the
Give it as
salary,
comp time.
but we can give it to them as comp time. So that is something that
Could be
we can also
negotiated.
look into. So that's, we can work it out differently, but that's just my,
John Bridger, do you have any thoughts you care to share with us?
It's really not a legal issue. It touches upon a legal issue, and that would be what Nancy raised earlier, that we'd have to renotice if we're gonna change platforms. And I work extensively with GoTo, with Microsoft Teams, and with Zoom, and just my own personal observation that Zoom is far ahead of the other two. Far less problems.
Zoom is easier for boomers, I will tell you that much.
Is it boomer foo?
I'm a boomer, yes. Say that
Zoomer?
as a boomer.
And as much as I use Teams,
You
I use
kids.
Teams a lot, it is not for the average homeowner. They are not good at it.
Yeah.
No, personally, I prefer Zoom. I think Zoom is the best platform for
And I
this.
think-
It's all they do.
All right, why don't we proceed in this direction? Well, actually, let me give a thought. I am fine having this service. I am not particularly comfortable with losing staff members during regular hours to be here, to work a computer, to record for the 1 or 2 people, if that many, who log on. I don't see that as having a potential over time. So I'm not keen on that idea, unfortunately, Nancy. But maybe there's some other options, such as perhaps considering or looking into an alternate platform that might be easier to work, and we somehow get it up running 10 minutes before and let it run.
what I can do is I can pursue more with our recording company that we have and find out what their platform is and how it works for them. That makes it easier for logging in and out. We can pursue that. I'll have them start calling tomorrow
And
to them.
maybe even try a free Zoom account and see if you like that better. That could be an option as well, right?
Okay. I've used Zoom, because I started with GoTo from the
You-
beginning.
You always have a comfort level with wherever you, wherever
So I
you've
think
got it.
because I started with that from the beginning with everything, and not that I
This is the guy
record
who's
on
on Word
GoToMeeting
Perfect.
anymore, but what I liked about GoToMeeting in the beginning was that they transcribed so it was easier for us to do our minutes, because they transcribed everything for us with GoTo. Zoom, I didn't have that option at that time. I don't know if they have that option now, because I've never looked back into it, but.
May I suggest a route to go forward? Obviously, because of the notice issue and because the consensus seems to be to still offer this service, let's continue doing it. Let's continue doing it as we're doing it right now and cobble through it. And in the interim, Nancy will look into other options and present those to us at a future date. Does that seem equitable for everyone?
Yes.
Okay.
So, related to this topic, did we decide on summer dates that we were doing virtual meetings? That came up
We
earlier
did.
in the year. So we do have those on the calendar.
Yeah.
Those are on the calendar as
Okay.
via GoTo only
Okay,
for it's the last meeting in June, the July meeting, and the August meeting.
okay.
Next up on the
I'll be
agenda,
Showing up here on those meeting dates probably anyway.
I have a couple minor miscellaneous if you want me to discuss them
yeah,
before.
wanna knock them out? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just real quickly, hopefully. The first one is, I wanted to ask you all about your thoughts about the geese in the park. I had a meeting with Brad, so these are all property related notes. So we got an offer or a contract with a company about handling our geese issue. And I would like to move forward with this contract and the fact that it's like $450 a year, and then it's $1,500 to have them addle eggs and remove nests, which I think we just have to do. So for me, that's a no-brainer to do these things, and that's the reality of the cost of it. The other option, of course, we asked about options to get rid of the geese, and at this point, kind of reviewing the things that we've done over the years, the only option now is euthanasia, is collecting them and humanely euthanizing them for $3,500. I don't feel comfortable with that. I don't think our residents would feel comfortable with that.
I'd be afraid we'd be collecting other people's geese at that point in time.
Well, geese are fairly habitual, but they like their, like if we would rehome them, they would very likely come back.
I'll move to my pond.
If you would like 20, but they'll come
Put 'em
back.
in your pond?
We have 2 residents now.
Yeah,
Geese that
Just
have
they would come
a
home.
question on that, and question for you, Don, and I don't know if I've seen it lately or not, the lights that were supposed to be like guaranteed,
Right,
have
so-
they been removed?
Yes,
or-
they've been
okay.
removed and refunded, correct?
We missed by the time it was, we still have them.
Well, if we have them, we pay for them. I feel like we should put them up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen them, and I remember that you specifically said if they don't work, they're guaranteed, we'll get our money back.
Yes.
I haven't seen them on, I've seen a lot of goose droppings, so.
Yeah, the geese are
I'm-
back in full force.
They
Yeah.
they really were
Thank
not
you.
working.
But now that nice platform we
So-
have is just smeared with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So the lights had some effect, right? Some effect.
But
The
not.
spraying, I think, had some effect. So maybe if we tried using both, we might
Yeah.
have-
I
If they're
would
still
say
there,
that
we're not gonna get
because,
our money back, then yeah, we might as well try
for
that.
sure, I
We
didn't
can
realize.
put those back, that's not a problem,
Yeah.
we can put those back out and.
And I thought we saw a little bit of difference with the spray. I thought we had the conversation here that other
did.
people disagreed.
No, I think there was about a 50% reduction, because I actually counted geese each day,
Yeah,
so.
of course you did, Don.
Don's there, just
Yeah.
burn seed.
Sad on so
Right.
many levels, so.
Yes.
So about 50% when they.
Well, and if we
started
combine
doing
both the lights and the spraying, why don't we try that? But I'm gonna do a hard no for being more aggressive than that.
I agree.
I actually found it, got a little bit squeamish with the proposal.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
right.
the addling of the eggs, I think, is a very, very appropriate.
It's a humane
It
way to
is.
deal with it. The geese, it's
And I
It's
wouldn't
a
wanna get in
humane
front
way.
of the geese and.
Honestly, that's when they get most aggressive as well.
yeah. I've addled eggs. I mean, you feel badly, but it's humane for the geese.
So, I just wanna be on the
Yes.
same, I just wanna be on the right page. We're gonna put the lights back up. We are going to have the guy come back out and start spraying again on a monthly basis.
Did he stop?
He stopped spraying because we weren't seeing any,
So actually, I've seen an increase in the last month or two as to the number of geese, so it was doing something,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
doing that and then addling the eggs.
Yeah, so let's do what we talked about today, the kind of baseline of that to,
Right.
you know, that.
And that
yeah.
add-on, okay.
Okay. Also on Liberty Park, with the park house, you know, I know we've had some discussions and maybe we wanna have this at a different time, and please tell me that if that's the truth. But, you know, we kind of talked about the park house, what are we gonna do with it? So I really feel like the next phase, if we all agree that we don't wanna be landlords, we don't wanna have a two-story house with residential and business rentals, then I think it's time to bring in a professional, an architect, to give us some ideas of how to lop off that back new part of the building, use the old footprint of the building, and create, you know, an aesthetically appealing storage and possible bathroom facilities for the park. And if we do bathroom facilities, I mentioned this today, and they're ADA compliant, and we could feasibly look at grant money to help with that, because if you're, you know, providing ADA bathrooms to a walkable park, I mean, that just seems like something that we could maybe
Yeah.
get grant money for. But anyway, so I would like consensus from the council
Community
to,
block grants, that actually might have fit under one of those.
yeah, maybe something.
But that would be next year's.
Yeah,
Selfishly, I'm in big favor of turning those into restrooms.
yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I think the residents would really appreciate it.
Jamie, the one thing I would ask is when the architect comes, if the only thing that's useful in there, let's take, aside from the restrooms, it is the power hub for
Right,
most of
right.
the park, and it also is the water hub for most of the
Right.
water lines. So perhaps to totally demolish and just leave those two hubs in some sort of a utility shack, and also provide the restrooms as a second option for us to look at, because if we can get more green space, I think that would all be very compelling as well, but let's look at the costs.
Might
Well,
actually,
actually, we
might
were
actually
think-
be
we-
cheaper building something after tearing
Oh,
it
and no
down.
doubt it would be cheaper
When-
to basically destroy the house and then build a structure to house new bathroom. That would definitely be cheaper. So I think then that's a bigger question for the council, and kind of which direction are we gonna go, because I think it's a little bit hard to be like, to an architect, you
Don,
know, give me the idea of modifying this house to look like kind of an oversized spring house
Not
barn.
really, cause you'd say, or do you think we're crazy and we should just tear it down, because there's,
Well, no doubt that's gonna be more cost effective, like, but what direction do we wanna go? Do we wanna keep that old stone base and a structure that people are used to being there, you know?
Listen, you have a very nice fieldstone foundation in that building. The original house, which is not that big, Don. So you're gonna gain green space by doing the demo. And by keeping the original fieldstone foundation, putting a roof on it, making it look like a spring house. Jamie and I had talked about this. Could be in a very attractive structure. You're all gonna find that moving all the water and electric that's been installed
It's
in that
expensive.
is gonna be very expensive, and it has to be put in something. So by retaining that existing building and perhaps putting a roof on it, you need an architect, okay, and that's the right way to do it. I think you should proceed with this.
Okay, so
And-
with an RFP,
Yeah,
they're ready.
do
And
an
so I
RFP
think
for
when we
an
see the
architect.
pricing, if we say, wow, this is outrageous, we could explore other options, so I
Yeah,
agree with
so we'll
Mark.
just move with the
I don't
RFP.
think you should go for an RFP on this. I think this is a professional service, and I very strongly think you should call Dan Lincoln, the architect in Bernardsville, who does a lot of historic preservation work.
But don't you think this is gonna way be above the threshold of needing, like, to go out for?
No,
No?
no, I don't.
Mark, if we were to consider, I don't know.
I think he did the couple train stations, he did the Farmstead House in Bernardsville. He's a very capable and a reasonably priced architect.
And you said Lincoln?
Yeah, Dan Lincoln. He came and he consulted with us for free on the line cones.
I mean, I'm happy to do that, I
Yeah,
just
historic
assumed that we would
preservation.
need an RFP for this.
No, you don't.
you know what?
As long as the council approves it, it's professional service.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh,
If,
might have
if we were to consider
recommendations,
moving forward with the Highlands
He's got to like
Council,
what he does.
that's something that might be covered in cost that we wouldn't have to bear ourselves.
There might be some grant money from Highlands, or honestly, it's recreation and trust fund money.
Okay.
So, it's in the park. That's what the money was taxed for, and that's what it's meant to be used for. So,
Can I add one other question about the
Sure.
park, just since we're talking about the park? Did we ever have lights on the fountains in the past?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
Is that something we could look at? I mean, look, it's purely aesthetics, but walking through there last night, I mean, the lighting now is phenomenal. I just think there's a wow factor we're missing by having those two
So,
fountains lit up.
in order for,
You have to
we
get a whole
didn't
new
have it
fountain.
before, but you'd have to shine the light from the shore, and that light would spread out and light up all the woods and stuff in the back, and that would get rid of all that LED effect that we have there. So the only way to do it would be to put submersible lights in the pond.
That's what I was suggesting.
They have new fountains now that they have LED lighting, but you'd have to replace the entire fountain.
Yeah, the reason I asked you is
Because the technology has come, so you can have it like look like Bellagio or something, you know, there's
Oh, yeah,
two
that's
different
right.
Yeah, a friend
sprays,
of mine
and, you
did-
know,
he just
you
redid
could really do a
pond
light
on
show.
Property, and
for-
with his fountain, he has that submersible light, and it's like, wow, when you see that, I was just thinking, if we had the two of
Yeah.
those in the pond, it would really, you know, it would really set that
Maybe
off.
when are those set to, like, the motors eventually wear out?
We just replaced them.
Yeah.
replace
Yeah.
them.
That's not an option.
Well, so the cost of the fountain assembly itself is not that expensive.
Mhm.
The pumps would still probably be used, those are on shore, so there's no harm in
We
pricing
can look
that.
at, I'll have Brad start looking at that.
And
And are
then-
the fountains I'm sorry, and the Burnsville pond, are those lit? Just to see?
I don't know.
Just because it's like a neighborhood pond, so, I mean, it might be subtle and lovely, cause I mean, I've seen it for sure. But I don't want neighbors being like, I don't want like lit up fountains,
It's
you know?
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, there's
Can I-
houses that stare down at that.
Can I say something? It's a nice idea. I'm not saying it's not, and it could look nice, but I see your point very much. But more than that, we just spent almost $1 million on the place. Let's get the place looking good first before we look at embellishing it. Right? You know, it's not looking too green, and I'm not seeing too many plants coming back.
Yeah.
No, we're
So
dealing with
honestly,
that too.
if
It's
we're gonna
not looking
focus on
very
something,
good.
let's focus on making the park, all the elements that we paid to have done looking right first, before we look at, even some glitz,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Okay, and one last property related, so, as you all noticed, that we're doing that trail in that property we built, so that's great, and it's nearly done. They did some drainage work, it's gonna be great, the kids at rec, I think, will enjoy it, and then people in town can walk their dogs and so forth. And we're getting some signage, the Green Acres sign will move to the entrance of it, and we'll do a little trailhead sign. We need to name the park, not just for like, you know, just to be nice, have a name, but for ordinances, because our ordinances list parks, like, you know, this park closes, this, if you litter in this park, so we have to have a name to, you know, to kind of get it on the books, if you will. So, any thoughts? Any thoughts on how to kind of, I meant to look at my historic map of Peapack at home, that I have at home, cause I think it used to be part of Vernon Manor, all that property, like, you know, like we could do some
But-
historic name.
But Vernon Manor's the name of the development across the
Right,
street.
I know.
Right.
How about Vernon Hills?
Sounds like a retirement home. We could do Vernon Hill.
Vernon Hill.
Yeah.
Vernon Hill is the founder of Commerce Bank, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not do that then.
You
So,
came up with another one, Tiger Hill.
oh yeah,
I was
right.
thinking Tiger or Ella, something like that,
Yeah.
maybe.
Can we put it out to the town to have a little vote?
Yeah, name the park contest.
Yeah.
That
Park
could be something
contest?
fun.
Yeah.
Could be fun, yeah.
To put in our newsletter, Mark?
Oh, that's, yeah.
A short window of application, so we keep it limited.
Yeah.
Okay, Nancy and I can
Yeah.
talk about it.
We can talk about that, we can get
Yeah.
that up on the website and stuff.
Or I might just name it Murphy Park.
I was
mean,
gonna actually say.
Actually, I was thinking Mark Park, cause it kind of rhymes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Murphy
All
Park,
right.
They might be thinking governor though. so-
Right. So many Murphys. All right, those are my things. I'm sorry to put a delay.
No, good things.
So, a question about the park though, how are we doing on the greenery?
So, Nancy, I don't think she got a chance. So at the meeting
Can
today,
I suggest we hold this till committee reports? Let's move.
Oh, sure.
Let's hold the
Okay.
park report, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine.
All right. So, speaking of getting things done, which everybody seems to be doing quite well at, we do have the mayor's punch list. And Eric has a short presentation for us
Very short.
on one of the mayor's punch list items, and I'm gonna hand the floor over to him.
Would you mind pulling it up?
Yep.
So I did send it around previously, so everyone could just see it, but it'd be, you know, you can see it a little bit better on a larger screen. So really, why Mark's getting it set up, the objective for me on this priority from the mayor's punch list is, the objective for this evening is really to establish that the council want to potentially pursue with this project. If so, I have an opinion on vendor, just based on dealings and reviews and all that, but then also kind of just trying to get a bit of a consensus on a general style and color theme. So that's really my objective for this evening. But I'll wait till Mark pulls it up. Is it possible to get it on the other one, or should we all just turn back?
There you go.
Nancy, maybe if you could ask Quick Text to take a look so if they can get both screens to simultaneously display
Yes.
in the future.
All right, next slide, please, Mark. So really, this is just an opportunity for us to, I think, from seeing it in one town in East Hanover that had similar type signs, it does make a very big impact. You wouldn't think it, but when you see signs like these in person, really has a big appearance. The other thing I've noticed, and I've never really looked, and maybe you guys have or haven't, I don't know. The only thing that's consistent about our street signage is that the inconsistency among it. Some of them are 6-inch, some of them are 9-inch, some of them are half cement, some of them are green pole, some of them are galvanized pole. It's a mess, and you can see some of them. You'll have stop signs. I have an illustration, so you'll see there's some clutterness that we could clean up. So there's just it's a good opportunity to bring some beautification to the town, and a relatively easy way to do it. I think with the proposals that we've seen or that I've received from the vendors, there's an opportunity to reduce the number of posts that we have as well, because now they're, instead of having one street sign here, one wayfinder here, one stop sign, you can put it all in one. And it actually has a very nice appeal to it. And then the signs that we're proposing here would also increase legibility as well. They're bigger, they're brighter. They just look nicer. I think you guys may have seen. If we go to the next one, so funding, how are we going to take care of this? I'm not looking for it to come from the borough funds, at least not all of it. There are 2 specific grants from the state of New Jersey, both that I have listed here, that specifically call out replacing and existing street signage. And then talking about it with Ben a little bit from the Highlands Council, there could also be some monies there if we decided to go that direction that could be utilized for this project as well. So just not to think, hey, this is all going to come back to the borough and the residents, but there's a good opportunity to get some funding for this. Very high level summary. I basically narrowed it down to 3 potential vendors: Signature Streetscapes, Capital Street Signs, and Foresight. All American made, all here, produced here, manufactured here in the States. The pricing you're seeing on the price each, that is individual sign only. Does not include a bulk. There's a discount when you buy X amount of signs. Also does not include freight. Also does not factor any funds from state or federal grants that we may get, and also does not factor DPW costs. Talking with Brad, this would be something, if we did move forward with it, we would do it in stages over time. So working with Mark, it could probably be something we allocate as part of the operating budget, with a caveat that there's a cost for cement that we'd have to factor in there.
Are these under state contract?
No.
Or we'd have to go out to bid?
It's too big. They had to be bid.
Okay.
And then
Unless they work with one, like a co-op that we're a member of.
Okay.
So if you could find the style of sign under the state contract.
And that's part of what I want to try to get to, is align on a style and a color theme.
Yeah.
The numbers you see here too on the total cost, working with Brad, this is for street signage only, so just posts and the street signs, not no parking, not no standing, none of those additional signs. And Mark, I understand you'd like to potentially upgrade all the signage, so that's something we can look at. But these numbers here only reflect actual street signage. So if we go to the next, this is just a current illustration. So the one in the middle I want to highlight is sort of our current wayfinding signs. Now there's 3 of these. This one is on School and Willow. We have another one on Luke and Maine, and then you have another one on right in front of Cocoa Blocks, basically at the parking lot there. They need to do, but if you guys have seen the subsequent slide, it could be done in a much more tasteful manner that could really enhance the appearance of the town. The other ones you see here are just, again, rusted signs. You got signs on top of signs where you could put that together in a nice package, eliminate having multiple posts, and just have something a little bit more crisp, I think. If you go to the next 3 slides are just looking at.
Can you combine traffic signs with street signs?
You can.
I would think a stop sign would have to
I
be.
know, I would have thought that too.
It depends on there's so my street, for instance, Patriot Road. You come down, the street signs are always going to be on the left. The stop signs are going to be on the right, just based on the flow of traffic. If the street sign is on the right, you can combine the 2. In some cases you can't. In some cases you can. So they're Jackson, for instance, where it's Jackson and Mendham Road. That one you could combine.
I'd be interested to get the police input on that, because they understand misunderstandings around citations if I didn't see the sign or whatever, so maybe they would have an opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, any of the traffic signs, we definitely have to bring the police into it.
And-
Because you know what, we may have to redo our ordinance, and Steve may have a laundry list of places where he wants to change the parking ordinance as well.
Well, there's also DOT regs that you have to comply with regard to signage placement and I think we'd have to check with DOT if you could have stop signs combined with anything else. I can't picture anywhere where I've seen that. So I'm
I don't know
wondering if
if
there may be a
Me neither.
DOT requirement.
And it may vary by state. In some of the options that they had, some of the communities I spoke with were in Virginia and Florida, and they do have it there. Whether or not that's legal in New Jersey, that's different question. I don't know the answer to that, but that's a good idea. These are just some examples of the wayfinding signs. If you were to have something, any one of these, right, pointing to library, municipal hall, police, especially the one on Willow and Main Street there in front of Coco Lux. I mean, something like that there could just make a huge difference. The look I'm going to be pitching to you all at the council is obviously black post, powder coated, but I personally like the brown sign with the white lettering. Personally, I feel it's a little different. It's distinct. It has, in my opinion, a bit of a historical context to it. I feel versus green, versus red, versus blue, versus black. I just feel it's fitting with the town. I personally like it. If you go to the next slide, you'll.
I like the brown. The thing to call out there is historic signs are typically brown in terms of like designated historic. So I would love to see. I like the green, like a dark green. The green you had on there was more bright, but the brown, I think that's a marker that that's a historic site. So people might look at it differently.
And the color options, I mean, the ones in East Hanover are black with yellow letters. I mean, you can really do whatever you want.
That's their high school colors.
Sadly
They're
enough.
horns.
So in this instance, these are the illustration that Streetscapes gave me here is, and you can see the options. The basic sign is $5.91 with the logo. So on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's an actual paddle with an insert that would have the town logo. You don't have to have that. I just wanted to show the available options. I do think it looks nice, but it's an extra $100-something per sign to have that. But again, I think it looks nice. There is the scroll in the way that the sign and the signs also are framed. So that gives a very different look when you have a frame sign versus just a regular blade like you see on the right-hand illustration. And again, this one does have the stop sign. Trying to keep the theme consistent amongst the vendors for apples to apples pricing. Not all the offerings are the same, but try to have the same fluted base, similar to what we have with the light posts at the pond, and then either a fluted or a smooth pole, and then an acorn topper. The toppers could also be a horse head, it could be a ball, a number of options. I thought the acorn looked nice personally. So here's one style that I was looking at, and again, black with brown blades with white lettering. Again, open to suggestions there. Signature Streetscapes, by the way, also is the vendor I would probably recommend moving forward with. Obviously we have to bid or whatever it may be. They've been the most responsive. They've been, have some nice renderings that they put together fairly quickly. They sent some samples. I was hoping the other vendors I requested it would send samples so I could kind of compare material, thicknesses, quality, etc. The other two didn't, which could say something in and of itself. I do expect they all said committed they would. So if I do get those other samples in, I will have them here for future. You can kind of look and feel. The next slide is again just another offer from Capital. Basic. They gave me the same sort of base, fluted, and a couple of times an acorn topper. This was just black, but again, it could be red, it could be green, could be blue, could be yellow, whatever we want it to be. And then the last one was the most expensive, which is Foresight. Gave multiple options here on just bases and posts, and then frames and mechanisms for hanging the signs as well. So on a price basis, Streetscapes I think had a great quality with great options with a good price point as well. So again, nothing much here other than to say, hey, here's a proposed project that was on the list. Here's some solutions that I found for it. Do you guys like the idea of pursuing, a more formal process and identifying what a cost might be and what regulations may be, to nailing it down? And then if we do, is there, you know, anything you've seen here, styles or colors that, you know, you'd want me to pursue over another? Personally, I like having a framed blade, meaning the sign itself has a frame around it, whether it has, bless you, you know, a scroll type you see here in option 2, or something on top, or it's just, you know, a hanger, like, you know, something simple on the first option. They all sort of have very similar product line. So thoughts or questions? Bless you.
Thank you. I know Bernardsville did some work on wayfinding recently, maybe past 4 years, and there was one on maybe slide 5 of the red where it had 3 different locations and arrows, and they have one similar to that. So I don't know if you've spoken with anyone over there who they used.
I haven't.
But it might be worth looking into that.
Sure.
Because maybe they did find a state contract or whatever it's called.
Are you targeting additional locations for the Wayfinder signs? Because I think the signs just kind of, you know, grow organically where they're located, and there actually may be other locations in town where they may be better suited or needed.
Yeah, I mean, Liberty
Are we
Park could
looking
be,
that way?
Apcar Park could be a spot, what is it, Rockabye Park could be a
Rockabye
spot, right? So Rockabye Meadow, yeah, so anywhere we had that Natarar, you know, there's things there that we could just keep the consistency going, and maybe there's some funds from, you know, from other groups that we could pull for there as well. But I would look at it as an opportunity to enhance and make consistency across the board, not kind of pick and choose, but, you know, do it once, do it right, make it look really nice.
How many street signs do we have in town, do you know?
So actual street signs, we have 120 that are on 80 posts.
Okay.
Some streets are one, some are, you know, a couple.
That doesn't include stop signs and all
Does
of
not
that.
include stop signs, no, that is
You know,
only.
you're talking about the street signs. Some of them
Correct.
have a T at the top, some of them
Yes.
just.
And I like the wayfinding signs very much. I like
Yeah.
the brown and white very much. And I can see coming down Holland Avenue and seeing the wayfinding sign, Natarar Park to the right, Liberty Park to the left.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like impressing people as they come into town. Wow, there's all these options available
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
And there's some of the wayfinding signs which are nice too, you know, they have sort of like a bell crest, like a bigger version of this one on the right here, where you could have the logo, you know, people, you know, so there's things you can do to really make it personalized to the town.
Yeah.
That's honestly, you know, no much more money. You can see the pricing of, you know, the one on the right has the logo built in. That's not too much from a base of the sign on the left. So for what it's worth.
Eric, I think you did some great work here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your taking that item and running with it. That item actually grew out of a project that Amy and I started back in 2020, and then whatever happened.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was called
That's
PG
COVID.
2020, and it was called, yeah, guys, it was called COVID. And we did get one thing done, which is going to be installed very soon, is the new signs coming into town, which are all gonna be installed soon. They're not gonna be black, but maybe we can paint the posts when we do this. I am very much in favor of this. It will really dress up the town.
Agreed.
And I'd like to see you find a way, see us, not you, but us, find a way to do this. And this is how it starts, by presenting this to the council and asking for their concurrence to move forward on the project. Paying for it's gonna be a big issue. I'm sure we could get some out of capital, but it would be nice to get some other monies to help with that. So well done.
And just FYI, the numbers are probably not even close to what we're gonna look at with a public bid. You know, because unless these companies, you know, adhere to the equal pay laws and the like, it's gonna, I mean, we could pay 25 to 50% more.
You know, you might wanna just call the company and say, where in New Jersey do you have them installed? How did you sell them?
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, there is,
Or if they're a member of a
we
co-op.
have to look in to see if this has to be put out to bid. These are very specialized items, and there might be a way to buy them. If there's only a single source for an item, there is an exception for that, isn't there, or something, no?
It's not true, he's already had 3 sources up there, so.
You gotta talk to them and see what they say about selling commercial ones.
I'm sure they're gonna co-op, so you just gotta find one that we have.
Yeah, I can
Turn it off.
All right,
So
Any
the
thoughts,
question,
Eric?
so the consensus is the council would like to pursue
Yeah.
learning more
Yes.
about it.
Eric, I'm gonna be candid. the Wayfarer signs knock me out. It's gonna take me some time to grow on replacing every street sign in town, because that, I mean, that one is, I mean, if we can't get grant money, we're gonna hear from a good segment of the community. If we spend $100,000 on new street
Yeah.
You know,
signs.
John, to that point, if we started with the Wayfarer signs, there's not that many that we would need.
Right.
I
Yeah.
wonder if you could take certain businesses, Coca Lux is an attraction in town.
Sponsor?
Say, and be a sponsor and they get part of the
yeah.
Wayfarer.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it
No.
should be
No.
businesses.
No, because then they're
Did
gonna
you
wanna put
see
the
what
name
just
on it.
happened in Bridgewater?
Oh, yeah.
There's gonna be every
Oh, yeah.
law firm is gonna wanna hang it.
Right.
No.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd like to keep the landmarks, not businesses.
The Bruder
personally.
firm.
That's an exception, I'm talking about,
Yeah.
that would look very attractive, it's the other ones.
Did you all
It
see
does
what-
have a nice ring.
Did you all see what Old Bridge did down on Route 202 and the people were screaming about it?
No.
On Route 202, they put up
Wait,
it
Old
has to be
Bridge?
40,
Not Old Bridge.
3 bridges, I'm
Three
sorry.
bridges.
Or whatever town that is right there. They put up, it has to be a 40-foot tall electronic sign
Wow.
on Route 206 with sponsorship
I bet
money.
John Bramnick's
They
up
didn't-
there.
Yeah,
And
He's
and
on all the
it's
electronic
absolutely
billboards.
so out of place and so out of place in that farmland area. It's awful. You'll know when you drive down to Flemington. You'll
Well,
see.
remember there was discussion a couple of years back about a big LED sign in front of Town Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never talked about sponsorship.
We never talked about a big one.
Wasn't a 40-foot pole either.
No.
This is not even a pole. It's a double wide thing. It's awful.
I mean, even the police sign right in the front of the building, you could do with a
Thank you, Dale.
wayfinder style sign, just to, again,
Yeah. It'd be
Dress it
nice
up.
to have that
You know what?
consistency, but start with those signs, pick a style we like, so then if we wanna move on to all the street signs, we've already picked a
in the
full
wayfinder
sign.
signs, the base that they would have, you'd find
Right.
something that
But
would
what
fit.
you put forward here, I mean, I understand the consistency with the street sign is all metal. People are in favor of metal versus wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it appropriate to bring up now speaking of that sign that was gonna be electronic sign in front of the municipal building? We had a recreation meeting and Dan Dolan were having some problems with getting the banner up because we're always relying on the,
Fire company.
fire department and it's really an ask we really need
would
to
say
start
that's
finding another solution for
Perhaps a
that.
different
That's what I
discussion.
thought, it just,
Yeah.
it sparked me when you
Yeah,
mentioned
different
that
discussion.
sign, so,
And I think there was some discussion about how to address that. But,
okay.
okay, so you have your marching orders, I suppose, to
I do,
muddle your way through as we all do on big projects.
yeah.
Okay, very good. Well
Well,
done,
thank you for
Eric.
listening, everyone.
Well done.
Thanks.
It's a
Eric.
really nice presentation.
Okay, good. All right, bear with me as the master here. Okay, moving on. Reading and approval of minutes. Regular meeting of April 11, 2023. A motion and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Cortello,
Yes.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Okay, very good. I should have done a consent for these two. Executive meeting minutes of April 11th. A motion and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Cortello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
All right, very good. And we're gonna do two ordinances and then we're gonna go to the resolutions. Let's start with ordinance, public hearing of ordinance 1121-23. I'll read it, an ordinance by the mayor and council amending the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone's Code of Ordinances to repeal Chapter 27, Flood Damage Prevention, Section 27-1 to 27-5, to adopt a new chapter, Flood Damage Prevention, to adopt flood hazard maps, and to designate a floodplain administrator and provide for severability and an effective date. May I have a motion and second to open the public hearing for 1121-2023?
Motion to open the hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Cortello?
Aye.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel?
Aye.
Okay, now that it's open, I'll take anyone from the public, Dale, who would like to come on this
Dale,
ordinance.
move around a little bit, will you, like, in between sections?
Seeing none from those present online, anybody online would like to comment on this ordinance?
Nobody's,
Seeing, nobody's on?
We got
Or no,
Stan.
I see
No, no.
one.
Sergeant
Yes.
Scanlon is the only one.
Okay. Motion second to close the public hearing for 11/21/2023.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Dietrich?
Yes.
Councilman Lemma?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cortello?
Aye.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel?
Aye.
Okay, may I have a motion second to adopt ordinance 11/20/2023?
So moved.
Second.
Jamie and John. Okay, roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich?
Yes.
Councilman Lemma?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cortello?
Aye.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel?
Aye.
Okay, the ordinance 11/20/2023 is adopted and shall be published by title only in the Burnersville News in accordance with the law. Moving on to 11/22/23, an ordinance to set the compensation of the mayor, borough council members, department heads, and municipal employees. May I have a motion second to open the public hearing for 11/22/2023, please?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich?
Yes.
Councilman Lemma?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cortello?
Aye.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel?
Aye.
Okay, I'm gonna do online and or in the house. Does anybody from the public wish to comment on this ordinance?
May I ask a question?
Let me close it, then I'll take your
Okay.
question. Seeing none, a motion and second to close the public hearing for 11/22/2023.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich?
To close the.
Close the
Oh,
hearing.
yes, thank you. Yes.
Councilman Lemma?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cortello?
Aye.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel?
Aye.
Okay, before we do a motion and second to adopt it, you have a question, Amy?
Yeah, I was just wondering, can we do this before we present the budget?
This is separate from the budget, yes.
But it's okay because the public would not have,
These are ranges of salaries, they're not
Yeah,
the
they're not
budget.
it's not actually what's in the budget.
thank you.
Yes.
And this
Okay.
reflects the changes in the DPW department?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, this covers their minimum and the maximum.
Every year, you're supposed to pass an ordinance that states the minimum max of salaries for every position in the borough, and that's what
Okay.
this is doing,
Thank you.
which is actually apart from the budget.
Okay.
Okay, a motion and second to adopt 11/22/2023, please.
So moved.
Second.
Oh, okay, Eric and Jamie, roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich?
Yes.
Councilman Lemma?
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Cortello?
Aye.
Council President Sweeney?
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel?
Aye.
Okay, ordinance 11/22/2023 is adopted and shall be published by title only in the Burnersville News in accordance with the law. Moving on to resolutions. Now, I'm not going to do a consent agenda tonight, mostly because some of these require explanations and our presentation, so we're gonna go through them one by one. The first one is, which I will explain in a second, 92-23, a resolution to amend the 2023 budget. I need a motion and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Before we do a roll call, let me just give a quick explanation of this. When our auditor looked through the budget that we prepared, he found that in fact we got, which we did not see, we got a modest increase in our ETR receipts, energy tax receipts, of about $1,700 over the same amount we got for like the last 10 years. So we had to do a modification to the budget and file it with the state to record that $1,700 difference in revenue. And that's what this is about. Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Thank you. And in hindsight, I should have explained it before you did the motion and second, but we'll do that next time. Okay. Public hearing and adoption of the 2023 budget. I have a presentation to give everyone. I'd like a motion and second to open the public hearing to present the 2023 budget.
So
please.
moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please. Nancy?
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'll take public comment first, then we'll do the presentation, and then we'll do a motion to, for the resolution. Does anybody from the public, either in-house or online, wish to comment on the 2023 budget? Seeing no one, a motion and second to close the public hearing for the 2023 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Eric and Don, roll call please to close the public hearing.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Before we do the resolution to read the budget by title only, I'm going to give my annual budget presentation, so. And Eric worked with me on this, so Eric, if you wish to chime in, feel free to do so. It's up on the screen, you also all have copies of it in PDF. And it looks like we don't have too many people, but we go through it anyway. So 2023 budget and tax levy. Where do your tax dollars go? They go to borough operations, and I'm gonna summarize because you all have been through most of this before. They go to the borough, it goes to the school system, it goes to the county. We also have a sewer utility that's billed separately and funded by user fees. In 2023, the borough budget, the borough's taxation will include 32.43% of tax dollars collected going to the borough, 46.76% of taxes collected going to the schools, and 20.82% going to the county over their operations, library, and open space trust fund. Same thing for the borough, operations and open space trust fund. This slide here shows graphically how those tax dollars get spread out. Of note is that you can all see the school system is the largest single part of our taxes that are collected go to the schools, and the second biggest part is municipal operations. For this year, we have budgeted tax rates of a tax rate of $1.79, $1.79 blended, of which includes borough, with the percentages I said before, being 55 cents per 100, open space 3 cents per 100, schools 83.7 cents per 100, county operations 30 cents per 100, library 0.043 cents 100, and open space 3 cents, county open space 3 cents per 100, for a projected tax rate of 1.79. I'll caution everybody that what that means is we still have not received the actual tax rates from the school or county, and when we get those, this number may adjust slightly, very slightly.
Excuse me.
Bless.
Bless you. In 2023, our ratables went up quite substantially. In 2022, they were $785, $120 million, and this year they went up to $823, $600 million. The average assessed property in town went from $784,338 to $827,654. And that's a total of 1,011 total taxable properties.
That looks like it's mostly due to reassessment too.
It is. Yeah, it is. Now, everyone knows, of course, that when your total assessments go up, typically your tax rate drops. Adjusted, of course, for increases in expenses or appropriations. We estimate that the average house in Peapack Gladstone, which is a residential property valued at $827,000 will pay a municipal tax of $4,555 in 2023 and a total tax bill of $14,811. That runs higher than obviously Somerset County on average and New Jersey on average. I was able to get those numbers. Somerset County average tax bill is $10,504, and New Jersey's average tax bill, and these are 2022 numbers, was $9,490, depending on what website you get the number from. I've seen a couple different numbers for that. So Peapack Gladstone's average tax bill is higher than the county, not that much higher, but higher than the county on average. However, our tax rate, which we estimate to be 1.79 or $1.79, is quite a bit less than the Somerset County average tax rate of $2.37. In 2023, the Borough Council has budgeted $7,221,000 in appropriations or budgeted expenses. We pay this from a number of different resources. Revenues and funding other than taxes such as ABC, fees and permits, municipal court, interest collected, receipts from uncollected taxes, and $1.7 million contribution from our fund balance, for a total of $2.7 million. If you take the $2.7 million off, the total appropriations is 7.2. That means that we need to raise $4.53 million in taxes to run the government, to run the Peapack Gladstone government. Appropriations, or that $7.22 million number, is budgeted expenses to operate the borough, and that includes grant monies received. Our fund accounting method is cash basis, so it's recorded, we don't accrue. RUT, or RUT, it stands for Reserve for Uncollected Taxes. It's a statutory line item that is part of our budget. We conservatively estimate that Peapack Gladstone will collect 93% of its taxes during the year, and the rest will be owed to us. I think when I looked at the reports today, today, we've already taken in about $100,000 in past due taxes this year. Again, the sewer utility is a separate entity. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Just so you know, the departments and the structure of the chart of accounts that we operate on is set by the state. It's not the way us in private business would do it. We would probably do cost centers or departments. So that can be confusing, as you all know, having been through the budget. You're not supposed to be able to read any of these little names, but the purpose of this is to try to demonstrate where our largest expenses are in operating this borough. And as you can see, if you take away reserve for uncollected taxes at $970,000, you can see that our largest single components are the police department, our healthcare costs, buildings and grounds, followed by a whole bunch of other different areas that we have expenses for. And I always put a little something fun in, the reason I put this little cartoon in, which says, "I'm from the city council, do you have a permit to sleep here?" is I'd like to just everyone to recognize the many, many different areas and services that this small town is required to provide, or provides by its own option, to its residents that we tax for. And it includes everything from trash pickup to zoning, which this little cartoon demonstrates. In 2023, we had some capital project approvals that the council consented on. I'm not going to read them here, but I'll tell you that we budgeted $424,000 in capital expenditures for municipal items such as equipment and road paving. We budgeted $38,000 for sewer work and $55,000 for open space and recreation. The Borough Council always vigorously strives to a pay-as-you-go policy. It is absolutely my intent to see this town debt-free by 2029. And we typically pay for longer items through a capital improvement fund. The sewer utility, again, is a separate area of a budget because it's its own utility. It is solely funded by user fees and shared service revenue, if any. In 2023, we budgeted $1.53 million to operate the sewer utility, and I would suggest that we are looking at a increase in our sewer rates in 2024.
Which we haven't had in quite some time.
Well, we had two reductions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had two reductions in the last couple of years, so we do have to bump it up again.
Replenish the surplus.
What? Yeah, well, not just because our expenses are getting heavy, especially EDC. A friendly reminder that state statute mandates caps on appropriations in the tax levy. I have it very simply identified here as a 2% levy cap, a 2.5% appropriations cap, but in fact it's not that simple because there are certain items that are inside the calculation and outside the calculation. So but we are limited to keeping it this way, and we are in that this year. So that is my presentation. Again, I'd like to acknowledge Eric, who worked with me. I would like to acknowledge Dale, who's in the room tonight, who's our CFO. Dale, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, that as usual, this is my second go around with working with you guys on this, and the budget presentation was very very self-explanatory. I mean, you did a very thorough job with explaining how everything works and the very involvement that the council has, as it's not typical for most towns to be this way.
Thank you for that. Nancy, anything you'd like to add?
I know.
Okay, Eric?
This year.
The only one interesting bit is the rut. I think at 93%, we're still. You gave me a stat that's actually pretty good in comparison to most other municipalities.
Yeah.
And I believe even with that reserve, we're still.
We
above that.
actually collect roughly above 98% of our taxes.
And we did
On
that,
time.
we did that through COVID too, which was
Yeah.
really kind of incredible.
So we don't collect about just under 2% of our taxes on time.
Yeah.
But as they say, there's two certain things in life, and that is dying and paying taxes. So the government gets you one way or another either by lien or tax sales or however it happens. We end up, hate to say it, get our money.
But that reserve will fund our surplus for next year.
That is correct. That and the fund balance contribution, yeah.
I use the old term.
Not the state, but whatever budgeting course I went to, they very frown upon saying surplus. It's fund balance.
That's the old
Do
term.
not call, you don't call it surplus, it's
Yeah,
fund
it's fund
balance.
balance.
Yeah.
And it's all based on connotation.
And the reason they do that is because it's the
Yeah.
form of accounting that's used in government is called fund accounting.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you don't have a retained earnings, you have a fund balance. Same thing, and that's in so many words, but very different. So I would like to extend my thanks to the Borough Council. You all did good work on this. We did knock it out this year pretty well. I'd like to acknowledge our department heads who kept their numbers tight, our advisors, our new auditor, who helped out with this as well, and of course Dale, who was a big part of this. So thank you, Dale, and thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Martha.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Any questions? Okay. Let me just give me a second. I want to disconnect this. Okay. It's remarkable everything's working right tonight. Okay, hearing no questions on the budget, I'd like to motion and a second for Resolution 93-23 to read the 2023 budget by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Okay? Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Well done, everyone. We passed our budget and ahead of most towns.
So we can pay.
Well done. So now we can move forward. Dale, thank you again for joining us tonight. We appreciate,
we can make
we know you
payroll.
have a young family. We appreciate you coming out.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm gonna go
You
through
wanted to
these,
see this, didn't you, Dale?
because we have some explanations. 94-23, a resolution for a mayoral appointment to the Borough, Library Advisory Board. Motion and second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Deidre,
Yes.
Councilman Lemon,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Cortello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Marble.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. 95-23, resolution naming official depositories of the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone and authorizing signatories on deposit accounts. There is a reason for this, and I'm gonna ask Eric, my second, to explain what we've been working on.
Do you motion second first and then
We can,
discuss it?
yeah, do the motion thing, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, very good, go ahead, Eric.
You guys know we've been working on the banking RFP. We narrowed it down to 2 finalists, First Bank and TD Bank. Mark, Nancy, Dale, myself met with both of the banks. Dale then went a step further to actually demo both of their banking platforms and some of their services. Ultimately, we decided that First Bank was the right choice for the borough relationship moving forward. And so that's the direction that we're moving, and upon this resolution, Dale will start with Nancy to transition the bank accounts from the incumbent Peapack and Gladstone Bank.
Great.
Great. That's great.
Okay, we expect to realize substantially more, at least while interest rates stay high, which they will for a little while at least. Quite a substantially larger amount of interest income.
Yes.
Substantial.
Just a question, with the transfer, are you just gonna have like a series of wire transfers from one bank to another? I mean, just curious about the
terms of transitioning the accounts?
safeguards to open and close.
So I don't know specifically how, Dale, if you want to chime in on it, but from experience in bank transitions, we'll identify the accounts that we want. We'll stand up those accounts at the new bank, at First Bank. We'll then fund those accounts, and we'll start to close out the old accounts as we start to transition things over. Normally, it's a 3 to 6 month process, but we don't just close a bank, take
No,
a
you have
cashier's check.
you have to make sure you have the money to pay the checks that haven't been processed yet.
Correct. That's why you have that sort of that transitionary period, because you start, the only thing that'll really happen over time is the receivables. You wanna make sure that there's no more coming in, that you transition that. The payables and everything going out, Nancy and Dale will be the ones that are maintaining that, so it's a pretty easy transition.
So how long is this process? Like,
Usually 3 to 6 months,
3 to
probably
6
3 to 4
months.
months is what this will be.
Yeah, it's a
Basically, as long
lot
as
of,
it takes people to
you're
cash their
looking at
checks.
all looking at the guy who's gonna bear a lot of work to do. This is not a simple process.
no.
Yeah.
We have monies coming in from all different sources, electronically, on paper, it is complex.
Different sources within the state, we've
Yeah.
gotta have some
You
help to
have,
figure out where those are.
the state doesn't have a one-stop shop to tell them, oh, we're changing our account to this number.
Yeah.
You actually have to go to each individual agency and let them know, it's rather involved. So we'll need to provide the proper support and plenty of coffee to Dale.
Upside should be,
I'm there to support him, that's.
the relationship over
You're gonna
time
be pro Dale.
should have some efficiencies for Dale as well. For
Yeah.
some, tedious work that he's doing now should be able to get alleviated, so there should be some time savings, but there is gonna be a very big lift up front that Dale's gonna have to bear the burden of,
I
so
don't-
thank
Thank
you.
you in advance.
I don't envy you on this.
We did identify a number of areas that First Bank is able to provide us in an area of efficiency that we do not have right now. And they will be significant.
Yeah, sometimes change is good just to get experience of how somebody else does business.
You're right.
And
Let's just say that the rate, well, no, I won't go there.
Dale, you'll notify PGB tomorrow?
Yeah, I actually spoke to them. I just gave them a heads up,
Okay.
late yesterday, just to, and as a, what's the word?
Courtesy?
Is it courtesy?
Yeah, courtesy, because of the long-standing relationship, I wanted to give them a heads up, and I've been in contact with them, of course, throughout the process, and, going through some, not to get into too specifics about some of the shortcomings of the things that.
Frank's in Florida. I spoke to him on that.
So they were aware, that this was possibly coming.
Were they surprised?
Yes and no. I spoke to Annette. So
Okay.
when I did were some things that, that I mentioned to her that I had previous conversations with her when we first took over, and that they weren't able to do for us, and that, you know, the proposals that we had, and the things that they didn't address in the proposals, other banks have, so. It was a surprise, but not a surprise, once I got into the explanation.
Okay, thank you.
It was fair, I believe.
There is one, before we take a roll call on this, there is one call that I'd like you to all be aware of. As Eric mentioned, we narrowed this down to two banks. It was First Bank, and TD Bank. And I have to tell you, the four of us were awed by both of them. They both came in with a very strong government team and gave us both a tremendous presentation. It was a hard decision, okay, to which one to choose, because essentially the package they were offering us was almost the same. And we ended up, because of, mostly because of Dale's experience with their back end, with their systems, we ended up choosing First Bank. However, as a call out, I have to tell you, TD Bank did a bang up job with both their proposal to us and their presentation. And personally, I'm moving my accounts out of Wells Fargo to TD Bank in Bernardsville. That's how highly I thought of their team. So I just want to let you know.
You know, the fact that the two proposals were so close tells you that you were on the right page too.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Okay, roll call please for 95-23.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to 97-23, resolution for authorization memorandum of agreement with the PBA 139. Don, did you have anything you wanted to say for the public's benefit on this?
No, we addressed the grievance that was filed, and we came to a amicable resolution with the PBA. And this will also take effect for the balance of the contract, so new hires will benefit from the negotiations that the PBA had on their behalf.
And I'm sorry, John Bruder, I should have called for a motion and second first there.
That's okay.
Motion and second for 97-23,
So moved.
please.
Second.
Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weigel.
Aye.
Okay, very good. We have two add-on resolutions that are not on the agenda. The first one is 98-23, resolution to join the Southern Skylands Regional Health Insurance Fund. And I'm gonna hand it over to John, to speak of.
Okay, all right, so I'll read into the record. Whereas a number of public entities in the state of New Jersey have joined together to form Southern Skyline Regional Health Insurance Fund, as permitted by New Jersey statute, and whereas the fund was approved to become operational by the Departments of Insurance and Community Affairs, whereas statutes and regulations governing the creation and operation of a joint insurance fund contain certain elaborate restrictions and safeguards concerning the safe and efficient administration of public interest entrusted to such a fund, and whereas the governing body of Peapack and Gladstone has determined that membership in the fund is in the best interest of Peapack and Gladstone, now therefore be it resolved that the governing body of Peapack and Gladstone hereby agree as follows. 1, become a member of the fund as outlined in the indemnity and trust agreements. 2, will participate in the following types of coverage: Medicare Advantage program. 3, adopts and approves the fund's bylaws. 4, executes an application for membership and any accompanying certifications.
Okay.
We need a second.
Did you, so that was a motion and a second, please?
Second.
Okay, did you wanna, either Nancy or John, did you wanna recap what this is for? We all know what it's for, but the public doesn't.
For the record, we are leaving the state health insurance JIP, going with Southern Skyline Regional Health Insurance Fund, which is also the same fund utilized by Somerset County and 300 other towns. We will recognize a reduction in our health insurance premiums of 4 to 7% from the 2022 numbers.
Thank you, perfect.
And the benefits are substantially, are equal to the benefits under the old plan.
Or better.
Or better, yeah.
I would just make one suggestion. Nancy, I don't know what the specific requirements are for the state health benefits plan in terms of notification, but John, where you read off 1 through 4 in the small Roman numerals, I would propose adding in a number 5 that essentially, to encapsulate what you said, that reflects that we are leaving the state health benefits plan effective, whatever the effective
July
date is.
1st.
July
June,
1st.
yeah, or
June 30th.
June 30th. Just, I'd like it to reflect that, because whatever we send down to Trenton, I don't want them to come back to us and say, well, you didn't take proper governmental action.
I amend my motion to add number 5, authorize the borough to leave the state health insurance, Jeff, as of June 30th.
Okay.
2023.
Questions or comments from the council?
Well, we need to do a motion and second as amended.
As amended, I'm sorry.
That was
That was
as
a motion,
amended.
That's your
a
motion.
second from
Second.
Amy, okay? Is there any comments from the council? Roll call, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy.
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Now, related to that resolution, we have 99-23, a resolution to appoint a fund commissioner and alternate fund commissioner. John, all yours.
Okay, so, be it resolved, Borough of Peapack and Gladstone, that Nancy Bretzker being hereby appointed as the fund commissioner to the Southern Skyline Regional Health Insurance Fund to represent the Borough of Peapack and Gladstone. And be it further resolved that
Susie Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Susie Giovanni's gonna be it? Okay, that Susie Giovanni be and hereby is appointed as the alternate fund commissioner to the Southern Skyline Regional Health Insurance Fund effective July 1, 2023. So moved.
Okay, very good. Roll call, please,
We need
Nancy.
a motion, a
I
second.
need a
Oh,
second.
I'm sorry, a second.
Second.
From Amy. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Moving on to 96-23, approval of the bills as signed and listed on the bill payment list totaling $115,212.70. Does any member of the council have any item that needs to be pulled for discussion?
No.
Hearing none, I read the amount already, so we don't have to read that again. A motion and second to approve the resolution for payment of bills.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote, please, Nancy.
Councilwoman Dietrich,
Yes.
Councilman Lemma,
Yes.
Councilwoman Murphy,
Yes.
Councilman Portello,
Aye.
Council President Sweeney,
Aye.
Councilwoman Weibel.
Aye.
Okay, great. Moving on to council reports. Finance, I have nothing, we've done it already. Jill, sanitation and sewer.
We just had our meeting on March 29th. I didn't mention at the last meeting, so, but other than that, nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Jamie, property.
I went over most of the property issues already.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don, fire and first aid.
No report.
Don, police.
No report other than we settled the grievance as we took action this evening.
Okay, thank you. Eric, roads.
Nothing to report.
Okay, Amy, zoning and construction.
Nothing to report.
John Bruder, anything with legal?
No matters to report at this time.
Thank you. And Nancy, administrator.
I'd just like to report that as of today, we've collected 195 pounds of food to be donated, that has been donated to the food bank here in town. The competition for amongst the towns goes until next week on May 5th. There will also be a box at the first aid squad on Saturday, when people go to purchase their maps for the townwide garage sale, there will be a box there. We will be sending out another PG notify,
That's great.
tomorrow, stating that there'll be a box there asking people to bring,
Great.
food there.
Great idea.
And I think we'll still keep, even after this is over with, we'll still keep a box in town hall for anybody that would like to, donate. And this way we'll get somebody to take it over during the week when there's ever any food in there.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. Thank you for organizing and running that with your staff. Mayor's executive summary. Mark, I have to get Nancy the rehab manual, so you have a copy of that and can look over that. Don, you have the issue regarding, the CBA that we discussed in executive to look into. Nancy, you're going to look into other options for, conferencing software?
Yeah.
Okay, Nancy, you also have reinstallation, you're gonna direct Brad to reinstall the, I'll call them the goose lights, and restart the remediation services from the
Yes.
firm out in Washington. And then Jamie, you're gonna look into an architect for the park
Yep.
house. Okay, that's all I have for punch list. I also like to try to acknowledge a group during at least every other meeting, if not every meeting. And the group I'd like to acknowledge tonight is the group of resident volunteers and out-of-town volunteers who came and did the park cleanup. They stream cleanup a week ago Saturday. I know I saw Jamie there, I was there, I'm sure, some of you might have been at the other side and I didn't see you. So thank you for coming out. A fair amount of trash was still picked up out of the stream despite this being done last year. We had a bunch of volunteers, including a group of people who worked in Warren, most of them who lived in northern New Jersey, who came down and helped us out, and they were based out of the Peapack station. And they were rather enthusiastic and very nice. In fact, there were so many people in the stream that Carolyn and I went up to Holland and 206 and we cleaned that area up. And we solved a crime while we were doing it. We found 2 pocketbooks that were stolen in Attleboro
Oh,
months
wow.
ago.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
Wow.
in the bushes. So that's what we were crime solvers that day.
Contents intact, I hope.
Except for the money, the contents was intact apparently, I'm told.
Wow.
So,
That's great.
except for the money. And that, they say that's the police told me that's the MO. They steal the bag, get the money out and throw the evidence out the window quickly. So, but I wanted to thank all the residents who came out, and did that stream cleanup. You'd be surprised what they find. A microwave oven was one item. That was the item du jour. So, okay. In person or, online, public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll move on. Any last further business from any council members? Okay, I do have one item. I will sadly not be with you all at the first meeting in May. I'll be away. John Sweeney's gonna step in for me, and he'll also step in if anything needs to be done on site here. I am reachable on cell phone and email. I work every day usually because I have to.
Stepped in it.
So, what?
I stepped in it.
You did. So it's all yours on Tuesday, May 9th at 7:00 PM with the mayor and council meeting. See,
Are we going back into
Right.
executive to finish the other conversation we were having
Salary.
before,
did we have to?
I don't think we have to unless we need to.
I don't see any need for it unless anyone wants.
did we, what was the
We
decision
didn't
made?
resolve it.
Resolve
I think we're all aligned
I
with
don't
But
think we resolved.
I don't think we're thinking of the same thing,
HR committee,
Oh.
Nancy, we to go to
because we didn't talk about it.
see his man.
we did not agree.
Right,
Yeah.
we didn't resolve it.
Does it need to be resolved with full council or is it an HR committee?
I think we could leave it to HR committee.
You know what they brought?
Sure.
Ask a silly
Are
question.
you uncomfortable with that?
No, of course not. It just
They
just
brought it
makes
to
me
us. We
laugh.
might as well consent
I think you guys
one
can
way or
decide
the other.
later.
Does it-
Well, I
does it-
mean, I would like to explore one other part of that conversation.
Okay, let's go back into an
I'm
executive
sorry.
then.
Okay,
Five
I'm
minutes. Okay.
sorry to bring it up, I just didn't
No,
wanna go
no,
any
it's
further.
I thought we
That's-
were done, I'm sorry, my error. Okay.
That's fine.
That having been said, I'm going to adjourn the open public portion of the meeting and ask for a motion to go back into an executive session.
I move we go back to executive session.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
There'll be no action taken coming out of executive?
there will be no action taken coming out of executive, that's
No.
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay,
Dale, do we have to ask
Yeah.
Dale to leave?
Thanks, Dale.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're horribly disappointed.
Yeah, I know you're upset.
Just,
I know.
if you could send me those resolutions, so I can send them to the state.
Yes, I will do them as soon as we get them signed tomorrow.
That's fine, as long as it's before Friday. That's fine.
Yeah,
Alright,
no
thank
problem,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
thanks
Bye.
again for coming, Dale.
Thanks.
I will stop, if you just give me 1 second to stop.
You don't need the mask in the hallway, Dale.